women should be running from. He is the very man that women have been lied to, that women have been gaslit by, that women have been manipulated by. The very man. And this is the thing that people don't understand, because what people take and do is they think that it's about the masses. See, many are called and few are chosen. And I noticed that this man's audience have been turned over to a reprobate mind because of the devil at work. So the people don't even want to be out of fornication. They don't even want to live for God because they see authority in the body, accountability in the body, and they will call it jealousy. And see, this the thing right here with this spirit is this how this spirit is able to seep in, because nobody sees the spirit coming. Think about that man that he's a breath of fresh air because the woman has been going after Mr. Long Legs. The woman been going after the man with the jawbone, with the cheekbone, the man with, the ladies want him, the star quarterback looking man, the star basketball player looking man. And then here come this spirit a little ugly. Get into this man who'd have been under the height requirement or over it or over the weight or over this or under that. And he slip on in there. And then when he get a woman, he takes advantage of her. He uses her. He cheats on her. And this is what, as children, what we was taught about the ugly duckling syndrome. How the ugly duckling take and get overlooked and then get a swan and then forget he was an ugly duckling. The way that looks in the world today is a man take and get a job that pays $200,000. And then he forget that he was broke, busted, and disgusted. So now he think he God's gift to women. And that's what he takes and he does. But see, now in this series, I'm finna expose this spirit. And I already did it on my previous video on YouTube called The Devil in the Pew. So you're going to hear a lot of that over again, but I had to hit both times just in case you miss it. But see, what's happening right now is women are supposedly seeking a man of faith, supposedly seeking a man who has morals and values and standards. So then when they meet this man who seems like he has morals and values and standards, they drop their guard and the man slow rolls her. He takes his time. He make her laugh. He make her feel safe. He make her feel comfortable. He wins her heart. He earns her heart, and then he crushes it. And he crushes it because of the lust of his flesh. And he wants multiple women. And then he cheats on his wife multiple times. And then the way Lil Ugly continues to survive is he comes out and he turns it into a joke. Laugh of a better term, laugh at my pain.
Let's pause it right there. Let's pause it right there. Okay? Let's pause it right there. If you're new to the channel, make sure you like, share, subscribe. You know me, if I'm on this channel, I like to keep things balanced. Okay? All right? I want to keep things balanced. I did a few videos on Tony a few months ago when he was on Hardly Initiated. I've spoke about him before as well. I'm going to say my honest opinion from this, right? I'm a little bit perturbed by Tony's way of addressing issues, because I think he sometimes doesn't realize that the way that he addresses issues does come off judgmental, right? And I know that within the Christendom, we have a section of people that are very judgmental, right? You've never fallen before. You've never sinned before. You've never done nothing wrong before. So you're perfect and you can say whatever you want to say. And in reality, all it does is it makes you a Pharisee and a Sadducee. All it does, it makes you actually now subject to the law, which it can fulfill the law. We have to look to Jesus for that particular aspect. But when I'm listening to Tony, a lot of times there's a lot of behaviors that come up that I'm like, I'm a little bit disappointed in. And here's the reason why. Okay. He speaks some truth. Okay. He does speak some truth, right? We should not have double lives. No, we shouldn't. No. Let's be honest. As Christians, we shouldn't have double lives. Okay. So I'm not gonna dispute that, right? He's absolutely right. There are people that are taking advantage of their position. Absolutely right. I'm not gonna deny that. There is people who do that as well. Okay. There is aspects where people are not being true within the faith. Okay. Yeah, definitely understand that. He speaks a lot of truth. My issue with Tony is that this is not how you address something. This is not of God when you address it this particular way. This is a man's way of addressing something. Let me tell you why it's a man's way of addressing something. The pride that's carried in this situation is problematic. And I spoke about this with Tony, that me and Tony are actually on the same side, because I resonate to understand he has pride. I have it too, right? I resonate with Tony Gaskins because he may not be aware, but I'm aware of mine. I'm prideful. I am. I'm prideful, and I know that there are aspects of me that sometimes I'm so heavy reliant on my intellect, my ability to understand and discern things in the Word of God. Sometimes gives me a pride about myself. I know this. I have to work on it on a daily. I have to kill that flesh daily. There is a lot of pride within myself. So when I'm saying this, I'm not saying it from a position of let's beat Tony Gaskins down. I'm saying this from a position of Tony, I need you to look at your blind spots because as a Christian, right, you're not going to pretend. And see, Tony says he's not dumb, so we're not going to treat him like he's dumb. We're going to treat Tony like he said he is. He's a smart man. He's not dumb. What are you doing when you call something a little ugly spirit? What are you doing when you call something a little ugly spirit? You wasn't talking about a spirit alone, right? You were hitting two things at once, and this is a problem. See, if he was talking about the spirit alone, okay, we rock with it and we run with it, right? He's calling out a spirit, but he wasn't just talking about the spirit. He was actually talking about somebody else, right? He was actually talking about an actual individual, another man, right? And within that space, I'm going to say something as well. I'm sensing a little bit of colorism from Tony. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm happy to be wrong, but I'm sensing a little bit of colorism from Tony. Just a little bit of colorism from Tony. Just a little bit of colorism from Tony, right? Because he had his whole chat now talking about Little Ugly. Number one, he spoke about the nose of an individual. He spoke about a nose. He didn't mention it specifically, but he mentioned about being a nose, being short. He spoke about being ugly. And then he talked about, when you look like an Air Force One, a black Air Force One. Now, I don't know about y'all, but a black Air Force One is not mocha chocolate. You know what I'm saying to you? Yeah? You know a black Air Force One is not a mocha chocolate. You know the bottom of an Air Force One is not mocha chocolate. So my reality of the situation is I started listening. I was like, this doesn't sound. There's a lot of pride that's in what you're saying. You said some good things, but there's also pride in the way that you're addressing the issue. This whole issue started because you didn't get invited to a podcast once again. We are back here again because you didn't get invited to a podcast that you didn't even want to be on. So what's the problem? You didn't even want to be on this podcast. So what's the problem if you didn't get invited? Right? And so for me, it's a problem. And can I just say, Angeline, I actually watched all 3 hours of this live. It was like 3 hours. Like there was 2.5 for the first one. There was another hour and a half on that one. It's actually about 4 or 5 hours. I had time today because I was traveling in from London, so I actually watched the whole live. So I actually know the context of what was being said. I didn't watch the clips. I watched the whole live. So when I'm giving it a breakdown, I want you to understand I have the whole context. And why I'm addressing it is because it was problematic. We as Christians, if we're gonna be holding people accountable, fine. I'm not mad at him holding someone accountable. I'm talking about the way that he's going about it. Calling someone a little ugly. The context was not just spiritual. He was talking about the person physically. Okay? He was talking about the person physically. And then what you will notice about Tony is a lot of the things he will start comparing and putting himself in the situation. He will say like, I'm a good looking guy, myself, and I get, I resist temptation and fornication. And what ends up happening is that Tony ends up doing what what cult leaders end up doing. I'm not saying he's a cult leader, by the way, but I'm saying he starts doing what cult leaders start doing, which is he starts creating this divide of us and them. Now, don't get it twisted. As Christians, of course, we're in the world, but not a part of it. So I'm not saying that there isn't a separation. But when we start going into a space where he did this with the hardly initiated, he starts creating what I do is God, what you do is devil, and I'm like, Aish, let's be very careful, right? Let's be very careful. Let's be very, very careful. When we're doing that, that's what cult leaders tend to do when they are starting to isolate the ring of their people and make them the holy nation and everyone else not righteous enough. And actually, what it ends up sounding like is that Tony is the pinnacle, and we are now going to Tony's pinnacle rather than Jesus' pinnacle. And the reason why it sounds like that is because of the way he puts himself on a pedestal. And for me, this is not of Christ. There is a blind spot to Tony that he does what the Pharisees do, which is they have validated themselves through the law. It's a bit of a problem. Just listen a bit more. Okay, let's listen a bit more.
But I ain't talking about Kevin Hart. I don't know who I'm talking about. It may or may not apply. He turns it into a joke. So what that does is that disarms God's children, because he's seemingly being open and expressive and sharing his flaws, which is commendable and which is what we should do. But our behind the scenes should be clean and should exemplify the renewal of Christ, the change in our life. But very oftentimes it does not. And what happens is, if you notice, when you see these spirits,
and this is a really good point that he actually made, right? It's a really good point, like that someone can use their honesty. We call it a double bluff. Someone can use their honesty as a dark arts. Okay, he's absolutely right. Someone can use their honesty as dark arts. So he's absolutely right about this. He's not wrong. In fact, most of Tony's message, I'm actually in agreement with. Like I've said this before, I agree with a lot of the stuff he does. It's the way he goes about it that tells me I need Tony just rein it back in a little bit. Okay, all right. I need to rein it back a little bit. Okay, there's a problem here. Okay, so we've got an issue. Okay, we've got an issue here. I've said this about the Tony situation before, that he makes himself almost a pedestal. Got to be very careful. Just got to be a little bit careful. He's not wrong. He's absolutely right. We should not be using our platform to move mad. You've heard me say it. I've said, listen, I only came back from Egypt in January. This is why I stopped talking about God. That's why I stopped talking about Christian things and just started doing my videos, because I knew I was not trying to be in that space. Me, I don't lie about what I'm doing. And if I'm not in that space, I won't talk about God, because I don't want to talk about God when I'm doing madness. You understand what I'm saying to you? When I had my season, I didn't want to talk about God. I didn't want to do God stuff. I didn't want to do things from a God perspective. So if you watch my content for the last kind of 3 years, you'll see it. I'm not really firing for God. You're not hearing the word of God. Yes, because I was not in that space. And I told people, I said, listen, that's me. I was wrong at that space and time. Now I'm actually in a space where me and God are actually connecting. I now realize, okay, hold on a minute. First and foremost, first and foremost, right, in that situation, let's be very honest, right? I need to also understand that because I've understood that I've fallen before, I should have a grace for people when they fall. You see, the whole point of this Christendom is to understand that when you fall yourself, this should actually bring humility to you, because now you're not operating from a place of I am high and mighty. You should be like, do you know what? I empathize where you're coming. This needs to change, but let's work with love in this situation, right? Let's work with love in this situation. And in reality of the situation, of course, there are some people that, of course, who are taking the mickey, who are genuinely out to deceive the sheep. Now, what I'm a little bit concerned with is that Tony's making it that this particular person is actually a wolf in sheep's clothing. Now, I know that he's had a conversation with the person behind the scenes. Okay, I understand. He said he didn't like the fact he called him an N-word. Okay, I hear you. He called him the N-word. You know what I mean? I understand. He felt some type of way about it. But we've got 4 hours of content from Tony Gaskins because of this situation. 4 hours. You know what I mean? Okay. 4 hours. And so, it's interesting that someone's put in a chat about the ninja word, right? You know what word I'm talking about, the N word. And yet when he's saying that someone is a little ugly, we are okay with this. The people in his chat are excited to be like little ugly and we're making it into a little joke thing, but we're actually talking about a person. You weren't talking about the spirit alone. You were talking about the person. So how is it we're okay? How come we're okay with saying that? Oh, so he called him an N-word behind the scenes. So we can see why Tony's acting the way he is. And yet, when the situation is that he's calling him a little ugly, it's okay. We can't do that. We can't chop and choose as Christians out here. You can't do that either. Tony's out here telling us that he was frustrated by what the guy said, the N-word, right? And he wanted to pop off. But you've actually popped off because you've come on the internet to pop off about the person for the next 4 hours. So it's not about saying, right? It's not about saying, right? It's not about saying that people aren't gonna do mistakes, whatever. We're not saying that at all, right? We're not saying that at all. What we are saying is there's a need for some grace in the way that you're actually addressing the actual issue. Do you know what I'm saying to you? There is some grace that's needed for the actual issue. And so the way you're addressing it is very important. And all of this because of you didn't get invited to the podcast? Come on. Cannot be. I mean, he did get invited to a podcast, to be honest. But anyway.
Little ugly. Start to climb to prominence. You have some in the financial industry doing day trading. You got some in the credit industry. You got some in the real estate industry. The devil will permeate every industry. You got some in the pulpit. You got some in the principal office. You got some in the police station. You got some in the podcast world. You got some in the film world. The devil will go to every single medium because he is seeking to steal, to kill, and destroy. And see, now
let's pause it right here. What spirit is a little ugly? Any spirit that is working against Christ should be ugly. So why are we specifically calling something a little ugly? That's my question. All right? That's my real question. My real question is, why is it, right? Why is it that we are saying a little ugly and we're acting as if that's a spirit? All spirits are ugly that are against Christ. So the mention we're calling it a little ugly, we know specifically what he's talking about because he mentioned already that the person's height, they had a nose, their Air Force One face. We knew who he was talking about. Again, why is this the description? Why is the description? Why is this description? So, like, again, we're in that place again where we are being very clever with our wording, and he knows that by him saying little ugly spirit, he gonna cover himself by saying it's a spirit, but it's not a spirit. It's not only a spirit. You're not just talking about a spirit. No, he was talking about the person, individual person. He was talking about the person because your whole issue is with the person.
these men do is, if they get a platform, they desensitize their audience and they condition them for willing sin. They condition them for repeated sin. They condition them for a life of playing in God's face. And the spirits are turned to be putrid and rotten spirits. You will see that the way the women talk, how rotten their spirit are. You'll see the way the men talk, how arrogant their spirit are. And I had the encounter with one of these demons last night, and in so many ways.
Let's pause right there. Look what he just said. I had an encounter with one of these demons last night. You're talking about a person again. It's talking about a person again. Right? We're talking about a person again. We're talking about having. I had a conversation with a demon last night. Well, we know who you spoke to last night, right? Because you're gonna end up describing it. Do you get what I'm saying to you? So my thing is, again, this is what I'm saying to you. Like, this highlighting of someone is demonic. We have to be very, very careful. We have to be very, very careful how we do that. We have to be very, very careful how we do that. That we're starting calling people demons and devils. Be very, very careful. Right? because you don't know you don't know where that person is. You don't know where that person's heart is. Someone could have called David at a point in time and said David is a devil for when he killed, okay, when he killed Bathsheba's husband, right? Someone could have said that that person's a devil, that King David's a devil. So we've got to be very careful that we're labeling people devils. Do you get what I'm saying to you? Even when I was doing a lot of my challenging of churches, I didn't call men themselves devils. I may talk about their work that they're speaking against Christ as being devilish, but I don't call people devils. This is not, we have to be very careful how we address certain things. You know what I'm saying to you? And I see that we're trying to twist the thing a little bit here about the vessel is that the demon used his perspective. He is a demon. Stop that. Stop that right there. He just called the person a demon. Why are we calling people demons? Again, we've got to be very, very careful about labeling people demons. This is what I'm trying to say to you, right? We have to be very, very careful. And we want to create this kind of dynamic between an us and them. And we've got to be very, very careful when you start doing that. Because just as quickly as we're judging in a particular way, right, it can come back onto you. So just got to be very careful in certain aspects and the way we're going about it.
It was almost like he was laughing in my face, knowing what he doing to the body, but not caring what he doing. And then ask me, can we make up? And I come on his show and we show what two Christian men look like. And I said, no, because you do what you do for clicks. You do what you do for clout. I do what I do for change. And there were some idiots, and we're going to use the word idiots in the comments, who thought that I want to be on his platform. I don't want to go nowhere the devil is. All I want to do is call the devil out. Because if I wanted to be on a platform, I could be on every platform in America. Because when you look at the level of the guests they bring on, I meet the qualifications. I have no desire.
Let's pause again. We're back here again. Do you know this exact same conversation we had? Okay, all right. It's the exact same conversation we had with the hardly initiated. Again, he's in that place where he's like, oh my gosh, you know what? If I wanted to, I could have been on any platform I want. That, see, so now someone can look at Tony and go, well, he's got a boastful spirit. He's got a demon in him. Because where does pride come from? No, let's be honest. Where does pride come from? He keeps telling us he's got, you know, he had a Maserati at one point. He's got these big houses. He makes over $1 million all the time. And, you know, I could have made more money if I was still touring. He's always telling us about what he could be doing. Could it also be that you could also look like that you also have a demon within you? See, I wouldn't say that though, right? I wouldn't say that to you. See, there are certain ways we have to address certain issues, right? So I don't need to call Tony a demon and say he's a demon. Look at the demon. He's a demon. Look at him, right? He's a demon. Because look how he's talking about how he has big riches and wealth and he could be on every platform if he wanted to. But we don't have to address it that particular way. I just want him to come with a bit more grace and a bit more humility in the way he's addressing the issue. Because and the reason why I'm saying that is because whenever he addresses an issue, he then compares himself. I said this before, what he ends up doing is he ends up comparing himself to the other party and making himself a standard. That is a problem. Right? Okay.
You can ask the young men from Hardly Initiated who have asked me 4 or 5 times in the last couple months to come back on, and I told them no. You can ask all the other people who have wrote in. Somebody just wrote in with Amazing Podcast, and I told them no, because I'm not a clout chaser. But see, people get stuff twisted and don't realize that when you really walking with the Spirit of God, you don't have to seek fame. You don't have to seek clout. You don't have to try hard. God gonna give you what he has for you. You just got to be obedient.
That's fair point.
You don't have to use tricks and games and gimmicks. You don't have to use guests. What God built for me and my audience was built by the word of God, not by me bringing on people with a following to sit next to them to elevate myself, because I have no obedience from God or no wisdom from God. See, when God called you, you don't need nobody else but God. God will elevate you. But see, we got this spirit that's moving out here.
That's
And
fair.
what you got to realize, this spirit on the job with you.
Yep.
Little ugly work with you. Little ugly go to church with you. Little ugly is a dad at your child's school. Little ugly is the podcaster. Little ugly is some preachers. Little ugly, and little don't mean they got to be under 6 foot tall. That's just the name I'm giving this demonic spirit. But it's a spirit of deception. And you know what the spirit wants? I seen another one out here on the podcast. It's a lot of them on the podcast. But see, they have tricked their audience to think that those who call them out are jealous and haters. And the audience don't even have enough sense to take and do a comparison to see that those of us calling out these spirits have nothing in the world to be.
I think also we've got to be very, very careful too. Here's also something I realized too. You got to be very, very careful that when you're judging somebody about what their particular ministry is, be very careful. You see, Tony has his own ministry lane. That's his own ministry lane. You get what I'm saying to you? Tony has his own ministry lane. Do you get what I'm saying to you? Like, as for me, I don't mind bringing on people that are not Christians. I want to have conversation about relationships because that's what I love doing. Tony has a section of people, okay? Tony has a section of people that he needs to address, that he wants to address, that God has called him to, okay? So he needs to understand that his audience and core people that he's called to may not be somebody else's. If he decides to have people that are not necessarily Christian on the couch, remember, we are also running a business too at the same time, right? You don't go to somebody's bank job and be like, whoa, hey, don't have people that are not Christian come into your bank. They shouldn't be able to remove money. No, we just say you're a banker, right? But you're a Christian who's a banker, right? But you don't start because someone's wearing a turban on their head now, I'm not serving you. You know what I'm saying to you? Oh, because you're not a Christian, you can't come to. I was like, wait. Hey. You know what I'm saying to you? So whether his particular audience and what he's called to do, that's what he's called to do. You cannot compare what King David did and compare what Samson did. They're in two different dispensations of time, and what God called him to do is very different. We must understand that there are two different ways that people are going to speak to different people, right? Two different people, and so in this space, okay, in the space, we have to be very, very careful as well about how we're going about that. And so that's why I said it's about relationship issues, about people that are married, people that can inspire people to be married. And so you are judging it because there are people on the couch that well, you know them, Tony. You know some people, right? You know some people. You know their true lifestyle, right? Understood. But the reality of the situation is he might have he may be called to a different set of people, right? Peter at one point had to even say it's very tough. It's very, very tough understanding the things that Paul talks about. Because sometimes we don't understand what someone else is talking about. Peter had to be called out by Paul because of Peter's prejudice, right? Because Peter walked with Jesus. And so when he was walking with Jesus, right, he thought that because he was a Jew, that he would have some level of right to be able to shun the Gentiles. And the reality of the situation is that Paul had to call him out. Do you see what I'm saying to you? Paul had to call him out. So this is what we're saying. Sometimes when it's not your ministry, relax. You know what I'm saying to you? Sometimes relax. And if we're really talking about Christ is really in the situation, we got to learn how to address issues in a particular way. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Jealous of. But see, what's happening is the devil is plucking off one by one. Because what these men do is they disseminate messages, and they put these messages out there that are lukewarm. And they bring on lukewarm guests to send a lukewarm message over the body. And these men share lukewarm messages with the woman they shacking up with or the woman they fornicating with. So when you talk to these women, you will hear these women say, well, yes, I met this man. I met this man, and he told me that he's a man of God, but he's not trying to do it the way God says do it. He told me he's a man of God, but he's actually trying to sleep with me. That right there is a little ugly. That's the spirit of a little ugly. That's that spirit of deception that says, yeah, I know God, I love God, but God don't expect us to be perfect. But ignoring what Jesus say, be perfect as your Father in heaven is perfect. Ignoring that and just only focusing on grace. But it ain't grace when you take it for granted. It ain't grace when you manipulate it. It ain't grace when you're trying to deceive. It ain't grace when you're trying to make a mockery of God. That ain't grace. You playing in God's face. That's rebellion.
That's a fair point.
That's a direct assault against God. You trying to use the name of God. Jesus said in Matthew 5:48, and not a word that Jesus says will return void. Not any of it is meant to be overlooked and skipped over and but this, but that is the word of the Lord. He said, be ye therefore perfect. Any other word could have been chosen. Any other word could have been chosen. Be ye therefore perfect, even as your Father who is in heaven is perfect.
Perfect, yep.
You therefore will be perfect, growing into spiritual maturity in both mind and character, actively integrating godly values into your daily life as your heavenly Father is perfect. That's the Amplified version.
True word.
And I talked to one of these spirits last night, and he told me that he's a man of God and God is blessing him, but he fornicates every 5 to 7 months. God ain't nowhere near you. God ain't nowhere near you. If God can't keep you out of if the strength and the power of God cannot keep you out of a defiled bed, you do not know God. And that's why Jesus say many. And this is what I'm trying to tell y'all women is you have to stop letting a man be your God. You have to stop letting man be your God. I seen so many women last night in the spirit of idolatry who is letting a fraud be their God. You have to stop letting a man get you into a defiled bed and you claim to love God because you do not know God.
See, that's the pause right there that I don't. When someone falls, it does not mean they don't know who God is. This is why I said I have to be very careful as Christians. Sometimes what ends up happening is that we like to be the author of the law and not of grace understanding. Okay. The reality of the situation is you're not perfect. Let's be careful now. Because the same measure of judgment you're issuing will also be measured back to you. Because be ye perfect, are you perfect? Because if you're not perfect, then we have to be graceful in the way we're addressing a particular issue, right? Now, of course, when I'm talking about, and of course, I understand why he's so kind of hot on it, because he feels like their future wife is conning people, right? So I understand also why he's so hot on it. I'm not saying that it's the fact that he adds the extra components to it, right? It's the fact he adds the extra components, is the little ugly, the Black Air Force One name, and all that kind of stuff, and that's why I don't like what I'm hearing. You see, if he had called it out directly, all right, cool, but he added what I call the low key spiritual insults to it to make. Do you know what I'm saying to you? You know what I'm saying? So I'm also very careful of that as well. Yeah, I just gotta be very careful. You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. Just being very careful of that.
If you know God, then you're not gonna let a man stand between you and God.
Pause, and also this, right? Also, another thing is this. Also, another thing that's also important is that he made a comment, which and I said this before on another podcast. There is a very interesting way that Tony goes about talking about masculinity. For instance, on Hardly Initiate, I talked about this. He talked about how I can't remember what he said about men. He said something about men. I can't remember what it was. And then he on this particular video, he talked about what man has a yellow couch as masculinity. And I was a little bit I was like, wait, what? What's a yellow couch got to do with masculinity? And I said, wait, what's going on here? Why is he talking about a yellow couch and it being about masculinity? I was like, this doesn't seem quite right. Do you see what I'm saying, Chu? He started saying about the yellow couch and it being masculinity and what man has a yellow couch. And it's like, I was like, wait, this is, oh.
You gonna do what you got to do. And just like I told him, I just like I told the demon in disguise that I talked to last night. I said, you don't woke up a sleeping giant. I've been minding my business, take care of my family. I do my little YouTube videos, but now the game that you playing is finna be exposed. And every single person under the sound of my voice, because it's also men who fallen susceptible to this little ugly spirit, to this demon, these demons in disguise. They being led astray. So why is it that men with a platform, men with a pulpit, men with a podcast become separated from God, and they stop loving their wife the way Christ loves the church, and then they end up filing for divorce from their wife?
Now let's pause it, because then see, this is why I said it becomes a little bit problematic. He starts going into the personal again, because he knows whose story is he talking about. He's talking about dear future wifey's story again. So this is why I said about being very careful, because what ends up happening is we didn't have to tie the little ugly to dear future wifey, because now you're talking about his story again, right? So that's why I said we're being very, very careful at the way that we're addressing the issue. Okay, all right, and we got to be, just go be careful the way you're going about it. You know what I mean? You know, just gotta be careful about it. That's all I'm saying. Just gotta be careful. You know what I mean? I actually like Tony. That's what I'm trying to say to you. I like Tony. I just sometimes at points I'm like, Tony, come on, bro. Give them a little bit of a break, bro. You know what I'm saying to you? Because this ain't the first time you've done this, Tony. You know what I'm saying to you? This is not the first time you've gone on a rant about someone not inviting you. He had the same issue, I think it was RC Blake's, when he talked about how, somebody was copying him and how people ask. And if you notice them about Tony, that's what I said about the arrogance and the pride that comes in, because at certain points he will tell you, you know what, people are building on the back of what he's done. I was the only one in the space up into 2000 whatever. I was doing it without money. And it's like, Tony, you may have been the first, but just like Elijah, you're not the only one. Just like Elijah, you're not the only one. God just blessed your life that you could be, quote unquote, be in that space first. But can I tell you the honest truth? Listen, I have a blog post from about 2008 or 9 talking about relationships. So what am I going to start saying that? When I came onto YouTube, that people have been following me, they've been checking, they've been stealing my content, and they've been I was here first. And it's like, wait. I've been writing a blog post since 2008. I didn't even know about you, Tony G. And I'm sure other people didn't know about you. So in reality, what we have to start looking at is understanding that if just because you didn't know about other people doesn't mean that you were the first. There were other people who had the idea that you had. You ever had an idea and then somebody has the same idea? You ever had an idea in your head and someone gets the exact same idea and you're like, damn, I wish I did it first. What is that about? Do you know what I'm saying to you? So again, there are so many people that have this mindset about relationships, that want to talk about relationships and have great conversations. You're not the only one. And I think dear future wifey actually asked him to come and have a conversation on a podcast. And he said no. Because he's calling him a demon. Hardly Initiated. He said he's not gone on to Hardly Initiated now as well, because they ambushed him with Ace Metaphor. He talks about Ace Metaphor invited him on his platform, and he didn't want to go because. And it's like, sir, but they did invite you. See, this is the point, and he never apologized for that. You know what I'm saying to you? I'm not even mad at it. I'm just saying we got to be very careful about how we're doing it. That's what I'm saying.
It's because of the false sense of power. It's because of the Jezebel spirit. This woman will go willingly.
Hold on. I want to see why.
Truly, and because they don't walk with God. Because when you truly walk with God and you truly know God, when somebody got the spirit of God in them, you're going to recognize it.
That's true.
So that's why that's why you can't be offended when you're walking with the spirit of God and somebody calls you something that you're not. because you know the Spirit of God is within you, and you know if they can't see it, then you like you don't have to. The Lord showed me when I consecrated my life before I did that, I was making $20,000 a year working in a group home. I was 24, 25, 26, something like that. 22. I was 22 years old when I started working in a group home. I left the group home when I was 27, went full time in this. At that group home, I made $20,000 a year. In 2011, I went full time in purpose work, writing books, ghostwriting books. Did not have no big following online out the gate. I'm just using God-given gifts, and God bless what I put my hand to. He blessed what I put my hand to. And in the first year, I made $143,000 or $147,000, and I came from making $20,000, but using my God-given gifts without Instagram, without YouTube, without real social media. And guess what? That's what he could do. So when I was working like a slave, and I'm making six figures, but I'm working so hard. But then when I just started to rest in the Lord, and I started to let him give me visions and create through me and give me business ideas. 7 figures.
This is real. 100%. He's not lying.
With half of the work, with less than half of the work, with zero travel, where I can do this work from my office, which is 8 minutes from my house. And I could get up from this work and I could go home and I could be there to see my wife and my kids. And I could take my son's soccer practice. And I ain't got to travel no more. I ain't got to go do speaking engagements unless I want to. I don't have to sit on here and beg for money. I ain't got to stand up and ask for donations. God got me. And whatever he want me to create, he give me a creation to where it is a business exchange. I got a product or a service that you want or that you need, or an investment opportunity that will bring a return, but it ain't no handouts, ain't nothing free, ain't nothing begging. And coming out my mouth ain't nothing but the word of God. And what the word of God is going to do is it's going to be a sword, and it is going to rightly divide. So it's going to be more people offended than it is people who are lulled to sleep from being pandered to. It's going to be more people that's in their feelings calling me judgmental and every other name in the book. So how is that finna be good for business? I ain't worried about it. Because
but he says he's not worried about it. But he actually does. This is 2.5 hours. How many times has he mentioned about not being jealous? I'm just saying, when someone says they're not pressed about an issue, but talks about it for several times in their life about him not being jealous, it tells you he probably is feeling a little bit pressed. You get what I'm saying to you? Saying we're not pressed about the issue, but then talking about it several times over tells me you pressed a little bit. And that's why I'm just saying that again, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay to be pressed, because the reality is you are a human being. Right? You are a human being. So it's okay to be pressed. Just say you're pressed. But he's like, no, I'm not pressed, but keeps talking about the fact that he's jealous and he's not jealous and trying to prove that he's not jealous. And I'm like, yo, it's a bit mad still.
At the end of the day, what do you want to hear the Lord say? Ephesians chapter 7, verse 10. Godly sorrow.
Okay.
I'm doing is warning you. So now y'all men out here is leading women to the bedroom. Then admitting to the women that you leading women to the bedroom. Who got a divorce from his wife and married a celebrity preacher. Had he listened to the message that God gave me, he wouldn't have went through what he went through. Had these men who got my phone number, all of them got my phone number, had they called me, they wouldn't have went through what they went through. There's another young man who I donated my time and my energy to his nonprofit.
See, it's stuff like this that makes me okay. I'm gonna play again.
Had the pastor in Houston who church got destroyed by the hurricane together and understand what it is. I'm trying to save you from embarrassment, because this message that I've been teaching this message since 2007. Had the brother Swole Buddy with the muscles, who was the life coach, had he listened to my message, he wouldn't have went through what he went through. Had he listened to my message. Had the brother who was following me online, who was the pastor of Denver Potter's House, had he listened to my message, he wouldn't have went through what he went through. Had the pastor in Houston, who church got destroyed by the hurricane. I live in Florida. Hurricane comes through here all the time. I ain't never been hit by one. And my heart goes out when somebody get hit by one. I can't fathom what it's like. He listened to my message, he wouldn't have went through what he went through. See
stuff like this, I'm a little, I don't like that. I don't like that. You see, stuff like this, I don't like that because it puts him at the pinnacle rather than it being about Jesus. And that's where I get a little bit concerned. Because when he starts talking about if it's my message, if you had listened to me, he would have never broke up from his marriage. I. And that is what I'm saying about the idolatry and the pride that he doesn't. I don't think he realized that sometimes that when you do that, you gotta be very careful. Very, very careful. Again, see how I'm saying it? I want to be very careful too, because I'm not trying to label him as saying it. I'm saying be very careful because this is how things can end up getting to a particular place where you start realizing that you are beginning to step into a place of idolatry. Because let me tell you this now. There are people that reach out to me and coach, and they love what I've done. I love it. But like I said, if they didn't reach out to me, there are 7,000 other people they could have reached out to that could have helped them because God has other people he can use to get his message to other people. You are not the you are not the be all and end all, which is the point I made last time about Tony. Sometimes he makes himself the be all and end all. And the reality of the situation is that you're not the be all and end all. That yes, God has blessed you, but he blesses other people too. So it's not only you. There are other people that God can reach and use to get a message to them. If God can use a donkey, my friend. And so I'm about to come there, Felicia, because that was a part I was going to say. I was about to come there. I was about to come there because this is why I said it's a bit. You have to be very careful. It's getting a little bit dangerous. I just want to be very careful. And again, I'm not trying to. I'm not trying to break him. I really want him just pause it a little bit and just pay attention that this is going to get a little bit. We're getting a little bit too. You know what I mean? Just be careful what we're going to.
Had the pastor in Houston whose church got destroyed by the hurricane. I live in Florida. Hurricane comes through here all the time. I ain't never been hit by one. And my heart goes out when somebody get hit by one. I can't fathom what it's like. He listened to my message. He went and went through what he went through. Had the pastor in LA who got a divorce from his wife and married a celebrity preacher. Had he listened to the message that God gave me, he went and went through what he went through. Had these men who got my phone number, all of them got my phone number. Had they called me, they wouldn't have went through what they went through. There's another young man who I donated my time and my energy to his nonprofit organization for young boys.
The question is, why don't they call you? No. If you have solution to save their relationship, why aren't they calling you? The question is, why aren't they calling you? No, because you have to understand, if you have solution, why wouldn't they call you? Because you're not going to charge them a crazy astronomical price. You're not about to rob or scam them. So why is it they're not calling you? Because they're scared of you. And sometimes that's not a good thing. Sometimes that's not a good thing, especially if you're trying to save their marriage. Do you get what I'm saying to you? Like, okay, let me give you an example. Like, for instance, on this channel, we used to, when I used to do the interviews, people used to get scared they'll come onto the interview because I'm going to ask hard questions. But I'm not here to save. I'm not here to save your marriage. I'm not here to save you money. We're here to find out wagwan. You understand what I'm saying to you? We're here to find out what's going on. But if I'm here to save your marriage, you should definitely call me, because if I've got the if I have the answer to save your marriage, you'd call me. The reality is, maybe I don't have the answer. Maybe I don't have the answer. Maybe the way I go about it is actually what causes an issue. Maybe the way I address people is what there is an issue with. People don't like it. And it's not, here's the thing. We can call out things, but when we're dealing in relationship with wisdom, we have to know how to handle certain things. Okay? It's not a male ego thing. I can tell you this now. It's not a male ego thing. When if a man is at the end of his relationship, okay, but the men he's talking about are obviously they've been cheating. If they're cheating, they're not calling anybody. You know what I'm saying to you? If they're cheating, they're not trying to call anybody. But if they're gonna save their marriage, right? If they're looking to save their marriage, then I'm gonna tell you this now. If you're a man that's looking to save your marriage, you'd go out to the person you believe that can actually help you. So that's why I'm saying that at the point in time, okay, the working time, it's okay to believe in what you do. It's okay to even be confident in what you do. But I'm just trying to highlight that maybe just the way you're addressing it could be the issue that you're actually having. Because, and I don't know if he did it on purpose. I don't know if he actually deeped it, but he just said that the hurricane came and it's never touched him, and it's giving. Well, to be honest, I'm special. That's what it's giving. It's giving I'm special. That's why the hurricane never touched me. And we just gotta be very careful about doing that kind of stuff. Yeah? I'll play again.
Denver Potter's house. Had he listened to my message, he wouldn't have went through what he went through. Had the pastor in Houston, whose church got destroyed by the hurricane. I live in Florida. Hurricane comes through here all the time. I ain't never been hit by one. And my heart goes out when somebody get hit by one. I can't fathom what it's like. He listened to my message. He wouldn't have went through what he went through. Had the pastor in LA who got a divorce from his wife and married a celebrity preacher. Had he listened to the message that God gave me, he wouldn't have went through what he went through. Had these men who got my phone number, all of them got my phone number. Had they called me, they wouldn't have went through what they went through. There's another young man who I donated my time and my energy to his nonprofit organization for young boys. He just went through a divorce. He know my number. He know my name. He know my calling, and he did not call me. You know why he did not call me? And you know why the rest of these men did not call me? Because spirits know spirits. If a man is turned over to a reprobate mind, he can see somebody who is walking with the Spirit of the Lord. And he knows that if he goes to that man and he confesses what he got going on, that he is going to be challenged, he is going to be reprimanded, he is going to be held accountable. It's not going to be no placation. It's not going to be no vacation. Ain't going to be no explanation. It's going to be accept the priesthood that God got on your life. Stop being a lemon mane, sorry, raggedy man. You is grown, you is musky. You might be ugly, you might look good, but you got to be a man. God called you to lead. You got to love your wife the way Christ loved the church. And then I guarantee you, God's love will not return void. But because you love him from your selfishness, and therefore there is no love. Because you selfish, because you prideful, because you arrogant, because you greedy, because you disobedient, that's why you going through a divorce. Because if you listen and you surrender to God, divorce is not an option. And that's what I want people to understand. You know why? Because when I see my sons, I don't know what their future holds. I'm not a prophet. I don't know what their future holds. All I can do is pray for them. And all I can do is train them up in the way that they should go. But when I see my sons and I'm their father, if every young black boy behaved the way my sons behave and carried themselves the way my sons carried themselves, because I'm a present and devoted and active father, we wouldn't have O Block. We wouldn't have 63rd and 64th. We wouldn't have Bloods. We wouldn't have Crips. We wouldn't have Vice Lords and Gangster Disciples.
I definitely hear him, but I beg to differ. The condition of man is that we are prone to sin. You know what I'm saying to you? So we just gotta be very careful. But I definitely hear what he's saying. He's definitely right about the inputs that we have and the fact that maybe some people are living a particular lifestyle that wouldn't call him. He's right. Yes, I do understand that, and I won't deny that part as well. You know what I mean? Again, just I would just say, again, I'll just say that in reality that I actually agree with a lot of his points again. And like he said, his sons obviously have him present and in their life, and absolutely 100%. You know, there's almost a kind of, I don't want to say idolatry, but there's almost and I've said this before, there's almost a heralding. There's almost a heralding of marriage. So what I mean by this is that when he said, obviously, he said this before, right? He says he don't respect no man if unless basically they're married, and that for me is where like you're, and I've heard it said before, you're not a man unless you marry. And it's like we are taking things like marriage and making it an idol. Marriage does not make a man. Because and if we are going to say marriage make the man, the only marriage that made a man is the one that when we are married to the Lamb of God, not when you're married to a woman. You understand what I'm saying to you? Being married to a woman is great. It's a representation of the marriage we have with the Lamb. But the first thing that makes a man is a man that's married to God. Do you know what I'm saying to you? So that's the first thing we've got to talk about. And then we can talk about marriage in life. And so remember, as I said this before, like sometimes when we make, and so sometimes what ends up happening is that Tony almost has this crux that because he's married and been married for 20 years, this makes him the best person ever. Do you know what I'm saying to you? Like being married 20, we appreciate that you've been married for 20 years. You know how hard it is, which is why you should even be more graceful for other people because this is such a difficult thing. Having the tools. Look, let me tell you something. Let me tell you this now, yeah? The last 8 months, the way that God has been dealing with me, I'm trying, like, I can only be humble because I realize, blood, there's so many things in me that is not great, you know? There's so many things that are not good in me in terms of even working in a relationship. If I was in one, I had to go to myself, "Bah, you are a problem as well, coach. You need to look at you again." And every time, I start judging certain things and I go, okay, do you know what? Okay, I gotta look at it differently. Let me be humble because God is humbling me. I need to understand that, listen, that I'm not perfect. Damn, okay. I thought I was cool. I thought I was sick at relationships. I thought that other people are the issue, and then you start realizing when God starts pointing out things to you that you just as much as an issue as of a person. You know what I'm saying to you? So I'm just saying again about that growth perspective and that grace perspective as well. That we all need to be in that space, as well. So I'm not mad at him. I'm just trying to say to him, let's have a bit more grace.
We wouldn't have none of that. And that's my goal. You be there. Yeah, why you gonna judge? Yeah, you gonna judge? Hey, I can't sleep with nobody every 5 weeks, even though I talk about love and relationships and I got bishops on the couch. Your heart up. Get your life together and stop playing with God. Take the scripture out your mouth. Take the scripture out later. Putting all the little cute stuff in the video. The power of God gonna be the power of God. Ain't got to do nothing but show up in obedience and sacrifice. And God gonna do the rest later. Putting all the
Hold on.
Stop going out into the world and you trying to look perfect. You trying to look good. You want to look good for everybody, but behind closed doors, you losing battles every day because you're not calling on the name of the Lord and you're not letting the Holy Spirit inhabit your life. All you want to do is play around with people because you're getting a little money, because you're getting a little fame. Listen, been there, done that, got the t-shirt, it ain't worth it. Cut from a different cloth now. Don't got to proselytize. Don't got to placate. Don't got to vacate. Don't got to go on tour. Don't got to have no podcast. I ain't got to spend thousands of dollars on production. Don't got to edit my videos. Don't got to chop up my video. Moments later, putting all the little cute stuff in the video. The power of God gonna be the power of God. Ain't got to do nothing but show up in obedience and sacrifice.
And that's beautiful for you. I need you to understand that again, because Sonny does this thing where again he's doing it again. He does this thing where he kind of he does this thing where it's really interesting, where he makes his thing kind of like, I get it. Tony is one of the few people that doesn't have to do a thumbnail or whatever. By the grace of God, the grace that you have, you can just turn up and it works for you. But that's you. What God has put on other people's heart is on them. So this is what I'm trying to say again. See that separation that he does? It causes the I'm so great because, and it's like, you are great because of the grace on your life. The Bible says that Paul said, listen, that by grace, I work. Basically, he said, by grace, I worked harder than everybody else, right? So he said, like, I worked harder than everybody else, but even that hard work is by grace. So even the ability to work hard is a grace. So when we are all given a portion, a measure of faith. So for instance, look, it's not a thing. You don't want a production of to spend thousands of production. That's on you. Your market, who you're reaching, is different. Somebody else wants to put 1,000, 10,000, 1,000,000 into production. That's on them. How are we judging? How are we judging what they are doing for their particular avenue or revenue or people there? That's on them. I use an iPhone for my camera. Am I about to be like, well, there's people out here who use mad cameras for their thing, and I don't need to do that. I don't need to do that. Because I don't need to make a comparison between myself and other people. Some people like to do production. That's on them. I love DFW's production. I sometimes I think to myself, I wish I had that same kind of mindset because it looks nice. I was on that couch as well myself, so it looked nice. You know, it looks nice. So as far as I'm concerned, it is not something that we should be making a big thing. You know what I mean? We should not make it a big thing.
God gonna do the rest.
I wish I found a clip where I want to find a part where he says about
so
that.
You could have women singing your praises. And see, this is the thing. This how the last night and confirmed every lick of it. When he got that out of his chest and called me the N-word in the first 30 seconds of the conversation. And I had to do almost threaten his life to let him know, listen, I love the Lord. But don't you ever in your life talk to me like that again. So, oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. If that offended you, it absolutely offended me. I don't say the N-word because my heart is pure. No profanity leave my lips. That's a curse word. We was called that when we were slaves. Don't you ever call me that. Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. What I thought around here with all that foolishness, as soon like that. Well, I don't know nothing about these people business. I just bring these people on. the podcast. I don't know about their business, man. I don't know what they be doing. I ain't judging nobody. See, you got a judgmental spirit. I ain't judging. I say you need to be vetting them because I know some of them personally, and I know how they treat women. And you got an audience full of naive, gullible women because I saw them in your comments and they can't tell real from fake. They think you real and I'm fake. I say, that's what let me know what you building. That's what let me know because I know how I live my life. My wife ain't getting cheated on and going through divorce. I know we cut from a different cloth. I know we not the same. And if I did something like that to my wife, I'm not going to start no podcast to talk about it and to sit down and be talking about that all day. I'm putting my head in the Bible. I'm burying my head in the Bible and I'm going to Wall Street. I'm finna be a Wall Street billionaire. I'm finna start business. I'm finna enterprise. I'm not sitting down to talk about something that I done failed at. I'm finna get the lessons and I'm gonna listen to the people who getting it right. And I'm gonna sit down and I'm gonna be a student, but I'm not doing it for money. I'm not doing it for clout. I'm not doing it in the form of a podcast. I'm gonna accept the consequences of my choices. And I'm gonna be relegated to sitting in the corner, shutting up and to listening, not trying to be him. Not trying to be pedestalized, not trying to be praised. And see, that's what that spirit of Look Ugly gonna do. He want to be the CEO of the company. He want to be the school principal. He want to be the police chief. He want to be the pastor. He want to be the podcaster. He want to have the platform. He want all of it because he want to be praised. And that's the problem. And the problem is when you look at these men with that spirit on them, you're going to see the fallacy. You're going to see the void. You're going to see, oh, he used to get picked on for having glasses. They used to call him Four Eyes. Oh, they used to call him Nostradamus for having that nose. Oh, they used to call his lip soup cooler. Oh, they used to thump him in the back of the head. The big boys who was quarterback used to thump him in the back of the head for being shorter than everybody. You look at them and you could see where they struggled at. And now you could see that instead of being renewed by Christ, they want to get everything they could get. Now that they got a name, now that they got money, now that they got fame, now they want to knock these women off. Come on over here, Google executive. Come over here, media production lady. Come on over here, author. Come on over here, prophetess. Come on over here, speaker. Come on over here and get this right here. That's what they want to do. Pluck them off. Come on over here, celebrity daughter. Come on over here. Oh, your daddy a big time speaker or preacher or teacher. Come on over here and get that put on you. And that right there, fueling their insecurity. And they come to women who know the Lord. They come to women who walking with the Lord. They come to women who claiming to be abstinent. They come to women who want to do right, who want to live right. And they sell them a dream. Tell them everything they want to hear. Make them feel comfortable with the scene. Because people ask that names was not spoke. A hit dog holler. A hit dog holler. Like grandma say, if I'm talking to you, I'm talking to you. You better get right before you get destroyed. Stop playing with God. Stop out here in fornication, out here in adultery, out here pandering for money, out here condoning sin. Struggle with lust. I say, well, how you struggling with lust and y'all talking about possibly having sex and being butt buddies, but you just got done praying. You just wanted to pray. I said, no. See, 7. I didn't get to go full time till 2011. And it wasn't from money earned. It was from an investor who is my friend who said, I want you to leave your job for a year, my homeboy. God sent me a bridge of hope.
Okay, I think my time is up, man. Do you know what I mean? Like, I can't lie to you. I want to do an hour, not do too much. I want to go and pray anyway, man. I got my own issues to deal with. I've got my own issues. Let me tell you, this season has whooped my ass. So, you know what I mean? I want to spend more time in prayer than I'm talking. But Love Smith says this Asian woman stands for Tony Gaskins. You players better be scared. We on your necks from now until forever. I don't even get the message. Who's the players? This is exactly what I'm talking about. This kind of language, I don't get it. What are we? What is this? This is what I'm saying. I don't understand this. What are we doing? What are we doing? What does that mean? You know, we're on the necks of you players, like now and forever. Like, is this is not of the God that we serve? Do you know what I mean? Like, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Like, it becomes almost this cultic spirit. I don't like that. You know what I mean? I don't like that. You know, I don't like that. You know what I'm saying? Too. So I'm very careful again. It gives a little bit, you know what I mean? Just a little bit, you know. But I will do a proper live because I didn't actually I didn't get my the points I wanted to point. I wanted to actually you know I didn't want to necessarily. I didn't get to timestamps of some of the comments that were made because obviously I'm talking from a perspective because I watched the whole lives, but I also, like I said, I want to make sure that I go and get the actual timestamps so you can actually see what I'm actually saying, so that you can actually see what I'm saying. Because I don't want it to be like, oh, I'm saying it. I want you to see the clip so you can judge it for yourself and then be able to assess what I was saying as well. Because I always like to make sure that we present a very fair, balanced side of things. I just think to myself again, once more, the message I'm saying here is that first and foremost, I definitely am all about, you know, warfare. I'm all about, you know, I'm all about making sure, um, I'm all about making sure as well that, uh, I'm all about making sure that, you know, that the kingdom of God is what we're putting first. I'm not mad at that at all. I'm just saying that we have to be very careful about the way that we address certain issues, and the way that we go about it, because it can be it can be very, very detrimental also for the kingdom in a different way. And so yes, you know, I think this is also important. You know what I mean? It's the way we're going about it. Again, I don't disagree with him calling out. I said it's the way we're going about it. I think we're going to be very, very careful to be able to the way that we're doing. You know what I mean? So that's all I'm saying. You know, when we start resorting to insults, and you know, as Christians, we've all been here. You know, when you start resorting to insults, that tells me we're not getting into a place where God really needs to be working through us. You know what I'm saying to you? So that's why I said we're very careful. And my last sentiment is when he said little ugly, he also described the person who he was talking about. And that's the problem. So when you do that, you end up equating the two things, because little ugly is a person. And unfortunately, he was describing certain people. That's why I said I want to get the timestamps next time. You know what I mean? Like, I will get the timestamps next time as well, so we can actually really address it properly. You know, so I definitely understand that as well. Okay. Um, so yeah, definitely. Well, if everyone is called to do it in a different way, he can't call out. He can't call out certain people. Then he should allow them to do it as they're doing it. You know what I'm saying? As well. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna get into that as well. So, all right, guys. I appreciate you lot. Stay locked, stay loaded as well. We're gonna see you guys very, very soon. Um, you know, yeah, it would have been very good, but Tony said no. So Tony doesn't want to do it. But I appreciate you guys. Stay locked, stay loaded as well. And we're going to definitely see you guys soon. And I'll probably try and get the timestamps for tomorrow. Maybe I'll do a video on it so you can actually see the timestamps, and then we'll discuss it as well. Much love, much appreciation. Please don't go Tony's side. You know, I know you guys won't do that, but don't go Tony's side and insult him. We're not trying to do that. We just want to be able to understand as well. Okay. All right. So blessings to all of you guys by the grace of God. we move. Love.